welcome to another episode of Tori's Tea Time Talk with God, where we spill the tea on the Word of God. And so today we're going to finish up and wrap up our understanding of Cain and what the Spirit of Cain is about. And then we're going to move forward into his offspring. So the main thing I want you to think about when you think about Cain and what happened to him is that, look, he went from being a tiller of the ground to now being one who is the builder of cities. And why this is important today is because I want you to see the contrast between going from an agricultural society, which is what his function initially was, to now having to shift to an industrial society, and look at the pitfalls they're in. Because while we are the recipients of the blessing, and so now I'm bringing it and pulling it into what we can understand in our world today. So while we are benefiting from the age of industrialization, we have planes, so now that we can go places that it wouldn't have been possible before planes were invented for people to go to on a regular basis. Now it's just a matter of booking a flight and getting on it. We can be across the world in 17-20 hours. So something that took months for them to do by ships. So we are the recipients of what an industrial society can accomplish for you. And at the very height of that, we in America have reaped the fullest of those bounties. I mean, even if we look at our liberties to be able to go places that many other places or people in other places have to walk through unbelievable hurdles and pay unbelievable expenses to be able to do the same. I mean, even if we have to pay $75 or $100 for a visa, we're still able to enjoy going to other places. And I mean, $100 is it's a lot more today than we thought it was. I mean, it was worth a lot more during our parents and our parents' time, but it means more in a sense today because things cost so much more. So that now we have to watch that 100. You can't just splurge as we used to. But what we can say and what we can see is we can see the benefits of having the conveniences that an industrial nation provides. But we should not be remiss to look at the things that we've lost and how that ties into Cain and the spirit of Cain and the story of Cain. Because think about what he's become. He went from being one who the earth was helping him. Now, of course, there was some work he had to do because just like his father, who was told that now he's going to have to work at the sweat of his brow. Imagine you're at the place now where now it's not going to bring forth for you at all. So not even the sweat of your brow is not going to bring forth that food for you. So now he's at a place where he's cut off. And just like Adam and Eve were exiled from the Garden of Eden, where they were, and placed into a place outside of the area where they had the full provision, the full blessing, and were able to walk in the spirit of the day with the Lord, to now, now you're sort of out. Now you're an outcast, if you will. But then there's levels to this because then Cain kills his brother Abel, and now God is saying to him, oh, now the earth is not going to bring forth for you. Now you will be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. What does that mean to be a fugitive? You're going to be on a run. You're not going to have favor. And clearly, Cain understood that to be more than just what was going to happen with the ground, but it was going to be something that was going to be like an issue with him with people, because it was going to be clear that you don't have the favor of God. Now you're kind of in the hands of having to allow people, because you got to eat. So how are you going to get that food? So, I mean, here are some things I just want you to think about. The mindset of a person who has to be on a run. You now can't really develop healthy relationships with people because you're on the run. You're constantly in a position where you can't allow your past to catch up with you. You're not in a place of being free. Your brother's blood is speaking against you. So you're constantly conscious, even if no one else around you knows. God didn't whisper to them that, hey, he killed his brother. Even if no one else knows, you're living with a consciousness of that guilt, that you are not in favor with God. That right there is a revelation. That is a thought that we have to think and we have to consider. Um, it's a painful revelation. It truly is. So here is where we are in the midst of this particular place in the life of Cain, and where we are as a people. And here's what I want you to, this is where it comes into where we are as a people. Having to go from an agriculturalist to an industrialist. So now, because what's under the earth is not going to bring forth, now I'm going to build cities on top of the earth. And I want you to think of what that means and what we've experienced, because they're both blessings and cursings to what we see today in our cities that people flock to. What we're seeing is that there is that same increase of separation of families, of separations of relationships. You don't have the same um, development of relationships like we used to have when we were a more agricultural society. Because even with the dysfunction of slavery and what happened, you still had plantations that allowed slaves to be able to keep and preserve the families those that the slave owners allowed them to have. Now, I'm obviously I am not endorsing or condoning slavery, but I am saying that of the families that were allowed to be families, they were more intact than they are today. And there was more of a sense of a pain and a loss when families had to be separated because of a result of an unjust system. Whereas today you see a willing separation, a willingness to let go of those relationships without consideration or without a sense of loss. We see it in our broken homes. We see it in families where mothers are raising sons by themselves. We're seeing it in so many different ways. And these are the pitfalls of industrialization, and on so many levels, because that's really just only one level that I'm referring to. But if we start looking at the things that man is doing, the very things that brought God to a place where he tells Noah that he's going to destroy everyone except the eight of them in every living thing. That means that things were not only were people corrupt, but people were corrupting the things around them. And we're seeing that in our society. We're seeing a corruption of our food supply. We're seeing a corruption of our atmosphere. We're seeing where man has come to the precipice of everything that he can build on top of the ground, such that people can transport from one place to another, such that people can, even farm in ways that are able to be done in a more rapid speed because of the inventions that have been created. But we're also seeing a corruption of our food supply. We're seeing where foods, instead of seeds being left alone to be put in the ground, but where they're being corrupted, where man is now contaminating it, where man is in their laboratories on top of the ground trying to recreate what God has already said he created and that it was good when he did it. We're seeing terminator seeds. We're seeing foods that can no longer reproduce because these are things that are coming out of man's laboratory. Because the spirit of Cain says, well, if the earth is not going to bring forth from me, if the blood of Abel is still speaking against me, then I just have to make it myself. I have to become that self-made person, that self-made man. And so that is the spirit of Cain that we're seeing that's running rampant. And as you know, that's such a disrespectful clock, but our time is up. 10 minutes are done. But I want to leave you with that, and to really decipher and go back through the story of Cain and think about where we are and how that spirit still resides today. Shalom.